Yosi Amram. Wow, what a great conversation with Yosi. Really, really inspiring. What do you know about spiritual intelligence? Have you ever heard of it? Certainly IQ, intellectual quotient, and EQ, emotional quotient, commonly used. But how about SI, spiritual intelligence? Where does that cover where the others two leave off? Fascinating background with Yosi, born in Israel, was a pacifist, but ended up serving because he had to in the military and left and got his undergrad at MIT, his graduate or his MBA at Harvard, started a company, brought it public, had a dispute with the board. They ended up letting him go temporarily, then firing him, but he resigned. It's a whole process there. He brought another company to public to IPO and what the process was there. And now he coaches leaders and CEOs on practices, and really, really smart, really, really intentional. I opened the conversation with chess. I didn't know he played chess. I just assumed, and I was correct. But great conversation with Yosi. I really, really enjoy it. Thank you, Yosi, for the conversation. And thank you, everyone else, for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Excited to talk to you, Yosi Amram. What's the most important piece in chess?
The king.
Really? Why?
Why? Because when the king is dead, then the game you lost.
Interesting. So just as you're a champion in the business world, you're getting the goal, you go right for the goal right away and you work backwards. Now, when I ask some people that, they say the pawn or they say the queen. And to that you say?
Well, the queen is there to protect and attack the other side's king. So I say, well, I'm sorry, but this is pre-feminism. So the game was designed by
oh my goodness. There's gender in chess. I hope not. I hope we're not upsetting anybody. But I don't know what the rest of the genders are. But yeah, I didn't even think of that. But how long have you been playing?
For a long time, since I was a teenager. But for years I didn't have time to play. But recently I've been playing again on the internet here and there.
Chess.com?
Yeah, chess.com. I play speed chess. I don't have patience for full games. I play 5-on-5,
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza Dash MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. Yeah, I do that too. I don't do the games yet. I do the situations where you've got two moves to capture, and
the puzzles.
The puzzles. Yeah. Yes, yeah. It keeps you sharp because you have to look at it. You have to look at it so differently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like playing other humans.
that's much better, isn't it? Yeah, it's much
I don't
better to
know.
play it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people are not so nice. They get into a lost position and then they don't resign, and they just let the clock run for 2 minutes for no reason, just to torture you because you beat them. I'm like, okay, I block them. Then I'm like, sometimes I just resign myself. I don't care. You can get the win, but I'm not gonna sit there for 2 minutes just because you have a lost position. I'm gonna mate you in one move, and instead of having the honor of resigning, you're just trying to torture me because I.
Hmm.
So it's interesting to watch people's psychology and how they are with winning or losing or
Hmm. It goes much beyond the actual pieces in the board, doesn't it?
yeah, the game of life is
Hmm.
interesting.
I play golf, Yossi,
Uh-huh.
and you can tell a lot from a person after 18 holes.
Yeah.
Are they do they throw their clubs? Do they, if they get a birdie, they have a really good hole, how are they on the next hole? Do they glow? Are they, short, have a short memory, and just how they interact, and if they're following all the, the protocol within, and it's much more than a game. You could just tell a lot of, when I was hiring people at important roles at sea level, I would always take them golfing just to kind of feel that a little bit. Do you play at all?
I played a few times, but it's not my game. No.
Mm.
Where are you based, by the way?
So I'm from the Northeast. I know you went to Harvard and MIT. So I'm from New Haven, where Yale
New
is.
Haven.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And now I moved to Tampa. Once I
Florida.
became empty nest. Yeah. And yourself? You're in California.
I'm in California, Northern California,
Yeah.
near San Francisco. At the moment, I'm near Santa Cruz, if you know
Bay
the
Area.
area.
Yeah. Now, so let's just start. Tell me, there's IQ with CEOs or leaders, there's EQ, and then there's what you have and what you really coined, and I've never heard
Yeah.
before
Let me
looking.
just put my notifications off
Please.
so it's not gonna disturb us,
Oh,
and I
smart. Yeah.
I don't want that in the recording. And okay, so I'm yours now.
The difference between IQ and EQ and spiritual intelligence is
Well, IQ is the ability to draw on intellectual resources. So their cognitive functions like, spatial reasoning, mathematical reasoning, verbal reasoning, comprehension, vocabulary, processing speed, memory, etc. So people think IQ is one thing, but it's actually consists of multiple, intellectual capacities that we have.
hmm,
Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is the ability to draw on emotional resources to help us understand and manage emotions in ourselves and others.
hmm,
And spiritual intelligence, by analogy, would be the ability to draw on, cultivate, and embody spiritual resources, timeless virtues that have been cherished across traditions for millennia. These are
hmm,
qualities like purpose, service, trust, gratitude, compassion, humility, integrity, and so on. These are qualities that throughout all the world's spiritual and wisdom traditions for thousands of years, they say these are these are the qualities that lead to good life for the individual and for the society. So they're and that's across theistic, non-theistic traditions. I interviewed 71 spiritual leaders across the world's traditions, the major traditions: Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, earth based practices, shamanism, and so on. And regardless of their theology, whether they believed in a deity called God, or that Moses went up to the mountain and got the Torah, or that Jesus was the Son of God, or the Messiah, or Muhammad is the final prophet, or they believe in Father Sky, Mother Earth, like they do
hmm.
in the native. They all spoke about these values of living a life of purpose and service and gratitude and compassion, etc. So, regardless of their theology and cosmology and metaphysics, these are the things that they work on cultivating and living in daily life that lead to good life, good human life for the individual and for the collective.
Boy, once you put it that way, Yossi, just IQ, EQ, and SQ. It just seems like it's a whole area that both IQ and EQ are missing. Your SQ, your
Yeah,
spiritual
I
quotient,
call it SI, but yeah, you
SI.
can
Yeah.
call it ESQ. I don't know, but yeah.
Q is quotient in intelligence and
Yeah, but
emotional. Yeah.
it gets you focused on how you compare to other people,
Mm,
and I'm more focused on helping people think about, okay, these are intelligences that I can cultivate in myself. These are capacities. And it's not about, am I more compassionate than you or less compassionate than you? And how
mm,
do I score relative to others? No, I want to, I can always develop more compassion for myself and others. I can always, develop more humility. That's true. I am the most humble person in the world, but
hmm.
I mean that was a joke. So,
Oh, you're not humble. I say.
uh,
Well, we'll get to that in a moment. So, what are you having more fun with, Yossi? Working with CEOs or being the CEO? I know you're the CEO of your own company, but of larger privately held, or I know you took one public as well. What are you having more fun with?
well, I'm not a CEO of a company now. I mean, I have my own little
That's what I mean.
thing, but
You're consulting, yeah.
yeah, but you mean everything is fun for its own. I mean,
Hmm.
what do you have more fun, playing golf or playing in the sand castles when you were a kid
Right.
on the beach? Well, I mean, when you were a kid, you enjoy playing building sand castles on the beach, and when you're whatever, like you are in your 20s, you like playing golf. And so what do you like more,
Hmm.
sandcastles or golf?
Hmm.
Well, it depends when. I mean, I had a great time. It was also hard and painful in some ways, being
Yeah.
a CEO, and I had my own, trials and tribulations and the roller coaster. I'm happy to talk more about that. But it was very rewarding, very fun in its own ways. And I'm having a great time these days. But,
Hmm.
I can do what I'm doing now because I did what I did then. And so, yeah.
So you're born, raised in Israel,
Uh-huh.
and tough times there. Always, it's a very tough part of the world, and you're pretty much a pacifist, I understand. But that doesn't mean that they won't draft you. And you served 3 years, but you excelled in the military. You won a lot of awards, and you did really, really well there, even with your pacifist practice.
Yeah, well, that is true. I don't know. I was just somehow blessed, but I would also say that fortunately it was a peaceful time. So
Mm,
it's not like what's
mm,
been happening in the last couple of years there,
right.
which has been horrific on all
Terrible.
sides. So
Yes.
just terrible. But yeah, I mean, I for whatever reason, I did pretty well. I functioned well under pressure. So in critical moments, I had a lot of self discipline. I was also, uh, relatively competent and smart. So whatever technology we're using in the Air Force then for my role, I mastered it well, and that helped me sort of excel and be able to direct others, etc. So, I mean, the technology we're using is so primitive relative to what it
Mm,
is being now. But the point is that my science, engineering, and intelligence also helped me. And But yeah, I had good discipline. I functioned well in moments of crisis when people would freeze. I could figure out what needed to be done, and people would tend to naturally follow me because I was competent and confident.
hmm.
So that was then.
So you leave, you come to the States, I believe you do undergrad at MIT and then post at Harvard.
Yeah, I did a bachelor's and master's in engineering computer science at MIT and then an MBA at Harvard. Yeah. I originally thought, my aspiration, so tying it back to the military, even though I excelled, the command and control model of the military really chafed up my soul. So
Oh.
I resolved to build an organization and lead people based on more humanistic values. And that was my aspiration, to be an entrepreneur and start an organization and see if you can lead people with humanistic values that help them actualize their potential
Hmm.
as individuals, but also feel a sense of community and belonging. And the military is kind of oppresses you as an individual, but it creates a cohesive thing because of the
Hmm.
pressure. And, your life depends on your fellow soldiers or your
Sure.
comrades. So there's a sense of shared
Brotherhood.
brotherhood or shared
Yeah.
destiny, but
Right.
you have to lose your individuality for that.
Mm.
And I was interested, like, no, can you have it both ways? Can you be an individual? Can you actualize as an individual, but still feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself that you're loyal to, that
Hmm.
lines you up? And that was my aspiration. And that's why I came and studied. And I thought I would be some kind of inventor and, develop some idea that, but I quickly realized I was more interested in the human dimensions, and that's why I went and got my MBA.
Hmm.
But my first startup really combined business and understanding and knowing where the technology was and how to bring the technology and integrate it in a way that helps people solve real human issues.
Hmm.
So I kind of combined my technical understanding and business to start my first company.
So talk about that. You started your first company. You have to make a pivot to kind of the World Wide Web.
Yeah, my first company was the first company to do personalized interactive newspapers before the internet. So I don't know if you're old enough, maybe you are, to remember the days of fax machines.
Of
So
course.
you'd get, this was the late 80s, 88, 89, 90, where you'd get on your fax machine in the morning, Joey's morning news, and it was tailored to you based on the topic, interests, companies, people that you cared about, and it would come on your fax machine. And we'd scan all the wire services, the databases, and then you would tell our system which articles were relevant or not. And based on that, it had sort of what you would call today machine learning. It was more primitive than is used today, but it would kind of tune itself to you. So the name of the company was called Individual,
Hmm.
and individual was both representative of the idea that we were individualizing the news to each individual, but it was also this idea that we were supporting the unique growth and actualization of each individual employee. So that was kind of what the name stood for. And as you pointed out, though, fax machine became obsolete and the World Wide Web came, and a lot of the information that we were selling on a subscription basis became available for free, ad supported. So, these days you can go to Google News at Google, and you basically, it personalizes the news that you care
Yes.
about, and it
Yes.
sees which articles you are clicking on and which categories, and based on that it's giving you more of that, quote unquote, the algorithm. So we had our own algorithm then, but it's the same basic idea. And so yeah.
Now that's the company you brought to IPO.
I did take it public, yeah. And
And what's
that's
that process like?
What's that process like? It's gruesome.
Is it
It's like 6 to 9 months. You get a lot of lawyers to make
really?
sure that everything is right. You get accountants to make sure your books and everything is squeaky clean, and they audit everything. And then you get investment bankers that sit in conference room for long days and write the S1, this document that you file with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and it's it's writing by committee, and
Wow.
it's gruesome. But you have to produce this big document that describes the company, its market, and the risk factors, and you know everything. So it takes 6 to 9 months, and you file it with the Securities and Exchange Commission. They always have comments like about question about this and that, and disclose this. What about this? And you iterate, and then you eventually they approve it, and then it goes effective at some point. You do a road show, and you travel around the world, and you talk to the institutional buyers like Fidelity, and what have you. And so you're visiting 3 cities a day on
Wow.
and just coming in, making the pitch, and then I flew to Europe. It was gruesome. In the middle of that, my mom had a heart attack, so I had to
Mm.
fly to Israel on the weekend. But I survived. We went public. Our stock did well, and for a while until I kind of lost it, and and my board put me on a quote unquote voluntary leave of absence. Nothing was voluntary about it, but
Right.
yeah.
Talk to me
Uh,
about that. You wanted something, they didn't, and they said, "Well, you got to hit the bricks." I mean, it's pretty much it, right? And you've got to listen to them.
well, yeah. I mean, it's a little more nuanced, but yeah. I mean, basically, the company went public. It was the early days of the internet. I was running around trying to capitalize on the opportunity, and one day I was getting a massage to relax, and as I was relaxing, my I had what you would call a spiritual awakening. My ego
Whoa.
dissolved, and I had a sudden recognition of the interconnectedness of all things. And this is something that people, spiritual practitioners, spend years meditating to gain, but that happened to me kind of spontaneously on the table. I mean, I had been interested in consciousness and the mind body problem and all related things, but something snapped, or and then kind of my mind blew a fuse. But I was getting all these downloads about where the internet was going, and I wanted the company individual to be the leader in capitalizing on that. So, and then I was pushing my team harder than ever in doing all these new products and acquiring these companies, and my team just couldn't keep up. I was just not. I became very ungrounded because I
Mm.
was consumed by this vision of where I saw everything going, which all came true in my to give me credit,
Hmm.
I wasn't grounded in the practicality of executing that fast. So, and then my board was like, "Hey, we can't do so much so quickly. Why don't you take a 3 week vacation and come back? You need to chill out." And I was like, "No, no freaking way." And then they said, "Well, you got to take some time off. We're going to put you on a voluntary leave of absence." So they passed a resolution that Yosi Amram
Wow.
is put on a voluntary leave of absence. And then that hit the headline, and in the Wall Street Journal, there was a headline, Individual Inc.'s CEO Amram takes leaves, share stock drops. The New York Times had a headline, stock dropped 37%,
Oh
etc.
my goodness.
And so, yeah, there was a lot of drama, and it was very painful because I lost my baby. The company was my baby, and I lost a lot of money, and my employees were upset because the value of their stock options went down, and the investors were upset, and it was a big,
Wow.
big S show, as they say.
Sure. Did people resign on the board?
Yeah, there are two people who on the board that resigned at the same time.
I mean, why didn't they know that if the CEO has to be forced to leave for 3 weeks, it wouldn't be affected?
Well, people get heated up, and egos come in,
Wow. Wow.
and it becomes like, okay, you're not gonna do our way. You're not gonna do it the easy way. We're gonna do it the hard way. And I wasn't the easiest guy to deal with either.
Right.
I was pretty hot headed, and I was committed to what I believe was right. But our egos on both sides. So it's kind of ironic because I had the spiritual awakening that my ego dissolved on the table, but then my ego got hooked again. So
Wow.
this is how life is.
So what
We're
happened after the 3 weeks?
3 months. You mean I was put on a?
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 months.
They asked me
Whoa.
to first take 3 weeks vacation, and I said no. And then they passed a resolution that I am on a voluntary leave for 90 days. And
Wow.
and I said, unless you guys reinstitute me, I resign. So I submitted them a letter that said, no, I'm not going to take a leave of absence. If you don't reinstitute me, I'm going to resign. So I submitted that. Basically, it was a resignation letter that took effect in 48 hours if I wasn't reinstated. And then at 24 hours later, they send out a press release that I was fired. So then there was a press release that I was fired, even though I had resigned earlier. So it's just kind of like that kind of craziness.
Wow. And what happened to the company?
Well, they found eventually a new CEO, and then it merged and got acquired, and you know, it
Got swallowed up.
got swallowed up.
Yeah. And where did you go?
Well, I took some time off, and then I started another company. I became co-founder and CEO of another company in the security space. I needed to prove to myself that I could still do it, because when that all happened and the news was that I was fired, etc., I was effectively canceled.
Jeez.
I went from the top of being in the top echelon of Silicon Valley CEOs to being someone who's crazy and whatever. So, but I needed to prove to myself and the world. So I started another company in internet security, and I took that public as well. So
Wow.
I needed to regain my stature, my reputation. And so I ran that company for a couple of years after it was public. And after a while, I was like, okay, I've done this twice, and I want to understand what the spiritual awakening was real, and why was I so driven with my company? What was this about? So I went and studied transpersonal psychology, and I went back to get a PhD in this field called transpersonal psychology, which integrates spirituality and psychology to explore the higher potentials of our human psyche. And that's that. Then during my PhD program is when I heard the term spiritual intelligence. So
Hmm.
the term was not something I coined, it was something that this woman called Dana Zohar coined, or I heard through her book called Rewiring the Corporate Brain. But she didn't really offer an operational definition or a way to measure it. If you want to study something, you have to know how to measure it. So the reason emotional intelligence took off and got widespread recognition is because there were a couple of academicians, Salovey and Meyer, and then Daniel Goldman and others, the Baron. They developed measures of how to measure it. And then they did studies to see the people that score higher, are they a better effective leader? Are they more successful, etc. So if you want to show that something is useful, you need to know how to measure it. And so there was nothing like that for spiritual intelligence. So that was the thing I set out to do, is to define it. And I created the first academically validated measure of spiritual intelligence, which then showed that leaders with higher SI lead teams with higher morale, greater commitment, lower turnover, even when you control for emotional intelligence. So it had a bigger effect than emotional intelligence. Both were important.
Hmm.
And then since then, it's been shown that leaders with higher spiritual intelligence uh, produce better financial results for their businesses.
Wow.
And other researchers follow on since then have shown that it enhances satisfaction and quality of life, builds resilience, supports mental health, well-being, And it's even been shown that banks with higher spiritual intelligence among their employees produce better financial results, better overall return on assets than other banks. So now there's a growing body of research that shows that spiritual intelligence is real, is measurable, and is positively impactful across many domains. And so that's all important. And it's also important to understand that it's not tied to religion and it's
Mm.
not tied to a belief system. Uh, it's something that's backed by research. And as I said, these qualities are universal. And now there's this field called positive psychology, started by Daniel Seligman. And if you look at, they developed this measure of character strengths or values in action, and they have 24 of them, and over half of them map one to one with these qualities of spiritual intelligence. So you're getting convergence. Multiple studies in spiritual intelligence suggest that it's important, and then the field of positive psychology saying these qualities are important for a good life. And then you have this other area, other vector, which is leadership development. So there's all these studies around what makes for inspiring effective leaders, like Bain and Company, one of the top management consulting companies in the world. They did a study with thousands of companies, and they looked at the difference between employees that are inspired and employees that are just going about their job to earn a
Hmm.
paycheck. And what they found is that employees that are inspired are twice as productive compared to just people that are doing the minimal. And then they looked at what were the qualities of the leaders that were most inspiring. And again, it was the same qualities: purpose, service, centeredness.
Mm.
Um, you know, they had 33 qualities that in the Bain study that came out as leading to inspiring leadership. And again, over half of those mapped into the spiritual intelligence framework. So, what I'm saying is, you have all this research on spiritual intelligence by multiple researchers from different cultures around the world in different languages that's saying this is important in many domains. Then you have this field of positive psychology that's kind of uh, consistent with that. And then you have this field of leadership
Hmm.
development with the same qualities of servant leadership and integrity and intuition and presence are all important qualities. So it just suggests that if you have all this converging lines of evidence, that this
Legitimate.
is legitimate, makes
Yeah.
sense.
I talked to two positive psychologists this week on the podcast here, and it's a very new area, new to me, not new, but very wonderful insight. You talked about being inspired and having purpose. Right when you were talking about that, I remember a scene, Godfather 2, when Michael, I think they were in Cuba, and Michael Corleone asked his tour person there, "Are the soldiers here paid or not?" And they found out that it wasn't. It's okay. That's important because if they're not paid, that means they're doing it. They're inspired to do so, and it's a very different motivation. We have to understand that. What is the difference between a manager and a leader?
Okay, well, that's a great question. That was one of my first questions that my professor at Harvard, when I got my MBA, asked: "As managers and leaders, are they the same or different?" So, a manager is someone that manages resources and people, namely, they make decisions on how to allocate scarce resources, which you have to do. It's an important role. But leaders inspire. So that's the essence. A leader inspires people by setting a vision and articulating a sense of purpose that says, okay, this is where we're going, and they mobilize meaning. Why are we here? What are we trying to accomplish? How are we serving the world? And that inspire now. So that basically breathes life into the organization. The word inspire shares root with spirit. And what is spirit? It's the animating breath of life.
Hmm.
So basically, leaders uh, energize, mobilize, meaning they infuse the organization with aliveness, so that you know it's yeah, people are engaged, people are passionate about what they're doing, they understand how they're contributing to something, and that activates their energy.
They're both very important. Can they
Yeah,
be? Can a person be both?
of course. Yeah, I mean, a good person, a good CEO, a good person, a good manager is also a great leader.
Hmm.
And you know sometimes they have to make the hard call as a manager, as an executive, and but at the same time they also try and inspire their team. And so, but they have to sometimes call the shots, and they have to hire and fire people and make decisions on giving people the bonus or a raise, or put them on a performance plan. If So those are hard things that managers do. But ideally, when someone is not performing and you're the manager, you are trying to inspire the person by highlighting that their potential is so much greater than they're performing. So
Hmm.
you could use the carrot or you could use the stick.
Hmm.
You could just beat them up and say, "Hey, you're underperforming. If you don't step up, you're gonna be fired." Okay, that's one way of motivating, but it's not going to help people bring out the best in them, and they're just going to be scared and contracted, and maybe they'll just say, "Hey, I'm about to get fired. I'm just going to start looking for another job," and then their performance goes down even further. But if you sit with them and say, "I see this great potential in you. You do so well here and here and here. And I think if you just apply those skills here, you could do so much better. And I'd like to help you get there." Then a person's like, "Oh, they believe in me. They're invested in my future, in my potential." So then they're more motivated, and then you
Hmm.
get more out of them. So you could be a manager and you could be a leader. You can do both. Uh, yeah,
I've had a couple of tough discussions with some past employees who were managers but thought they were leaders, and that could be a very delicate conversation, Yossi, because they weren't leading people. They were more meeting goals, and like you said, meeting, looking at that, and they take it. The ego can get involved there. It's got to be a very delicate conversation. I'm sure you've had similar conversations.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, we all have egos. I have an ego, and we have to be skillful. And
Right.
but if we're coming from a place of care and compassion, and we then it's more likely to land better.
So you've coached now, CEOs, founders, these multi-billion-dollar companies now. What separates like the top 1% mentally and emotionally?
Well, what separates? I think there are a few things. One is they have a vision that they're passionate about, that they're committed to, that they're devoted, and it has a personal meaning for them.
Hmm.
So they're not just trying to make money. Whatever the mission, the purpose has some personal significance. When you ask them why is that important, you find some interesting life story by why this thing is so really touches them in their heart, and then they're devoted to it, etc. So they're highly passionate, they're highly devoted, uh, and then what I've seen is as they are able to look at things from a big picture standpoint, very holistically. So one of the qualities of spiritual intelligence is to look at things holistically
Hmm.
from a systems perspective, and so they could step back and see the big picture, but they're also pay attention to the details. So God is in the detail. So yeah, they are able to move up and down from looking at things big picture standpoint, and 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 get in the details. The other thing is they have this paradoxical capacity. One is they stand their ground, so they have a lot of confidence, and they in themselves and in their vision, and so they stand their ground uh, in pushing for what they believe in. But at the same time, they're open for ideas and feedback from others.
Hmm.
So they're not. So if you're so confident, you on the extreme, you could go become rigid, but that doesn't help you because the market is changing. There are other people that are getting new data of what's happening in the market, or the competition, or the customers. So you have your initial idea, and you have to be confident about it, and you advocate for it strongly. But
Wow.
on the other side, you need to be open and receptive, and synthesize a lot of information across different departments. And because you got your engineers, they're pushing for innovation and quality product, and it's taking time. But then you have your sales team, and they're
Hmm.
like, we need it yesterday, we need it to be lower price, we need to do whatever the customer says. And then you got marketing, and they've got their pressure. So you got to look at things holistically, like I said, from a system standpoint, and synthesize all of that. So you're clear about where you want it to go, but you're also taking all this input and somehow synthesizing it, and using all this tension to across these departments to come up with creative solutions.
What if discipline wasn't about punishment, but about unlocking your best self? I spent 2.5 years writing Discipline for Greatness because discipline changed my life. And I know it can change yours too. This isn't theory. Inside, you'll find real, practical steps you can use immediately to focus better, build stronger habits, reduce stress, accomplish your goals, and bring more balance to your life. Whether you're trying to get healthier, improve your career, or simply feel more control, this book gives you the framework. Start today. Grab your copy of Discipline for Greatness at joeypins.com/book. Thank you. Tough gig.
So
Meanwhile, you have to report to the board. So you've got to be also, you've got to have a lot of meetings. You've got to be slightly a politician as well to be able to navigate those personalities and those entities. Do you see any common blind spots that show up often with these successful CEOs?
well, yeah, I mean, the common blind spot is we get our egos hooked,
Hmm.
and so that makes us less flexible, less open to new input. But I think one of the things is our psychology, and some people are, for whatever reason, are overly rigid and don't take input, and that's their ego. And then on the other side, the people, and this may sound counterintuitive, but there's some people that are always trying to please everybody, and
Hmm.
it's like they're too flexible, and they're trying to get everybody, and that could be its own downfall on the other side. But that's also an egoic identity. That's an identity. I got to be flexible. I got to keep everybody happy. I need everybody's approval. And
Hmm.
there's no consistent, you know, internally directed North Star that. So there's a good book called Why CEOs Fail, and I think they have like 13 categories of psychological
Ah.
uh, things and how they play out in someone's role as a CEO. And
I saw a recent interview of the CEO of NVIDIA, and his name escapes me. I see his face, but it was a long interview on Joe Rogan, so it was 3 hours. But he still works 14-hour days on Sundays and on Saturdays. I mean, he still reads emails, and um, the idea that I don't want to say these people aren't normal, but they're just hard working. I mean, to be $1 billion company, they have to work very hard.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. So they're very driven, and they have to be passionate and very energetic. So yeah, as I said, I mean, they're he has some idea of the future, and he's very committed, devoted to it. Now, you know, it's working for them. Great. I don't know. I mean, at some point, you're gonna ask yourself, is there more to life than that?
Right.
And
Right.
as an individual, but I'm
Hmm.
sure they derive great meaning and satisfaction from it.
Yossi, is there a daily practice you recommend to a lot of these leaders?
Yeah, I mean, I recommend a practice that gets them in their body, that gets them to become more self-aware. One practice that I think I recommend to leaders and everybody is a gratitude practice,
Hmm.
which is like, okay, uh, at the end of the day, think about what happened to you today that you're grateful for,
Right.
and put it in your journal,
Right.
etc. And ideally express that gratitude and appreciation in real time. So you're in a meeting and someone is doing a good job presenting something, or came up with a report, or closed a new deal, or whatever it is they did. They stayed late at work last night to finish a project, and you feel like, oh, they did a good job. I'm grateful. So, one is to feel the gratitude, which resources us and, doesn't burn us out, and then express it to the person. If you didn't do it on the spot right there, do it tomorrow. Like, I really appreciate you did stayed late last night. You produced a great report or whatever. I really valued your analysis. It was very insightful, whatever it might be. So, gratitude practice and appreciation practice, uh, would be the first thing. The other thing is just, I recommend, if people can, develop a meditation practice,
Hmm.
because one of the key capacities for a leader is our presence. And what our presence means is that we manage our attention and we have our clarity of intention. One our scarcest resource as a human being, but also certainly as a leader, as a manager, is all the demands on our time. We're sort of in the attention economy, and everything is bombarding us, whether it's text messages, social media, Slack messages, emails, what have you. Everybody wants our attention. We have our phones, we can't put them down. But you're sitting in a meeting one on one with your staff, and you're not giving them the quality of attention. Or you're a sales executive and you're in a meeting with a prospect, and you need to be clear on your intention, which is to build rapport with this prospect or to understand their requirements. So then I can go back after the meeting and say, oh, this is what I understand your requirements are, and this is our proposed solution. This is how it addresses your requirement. But I have to be present with that client. I have to be build rapport, and I have to be clear on my intention. So, and it's not so easy to do that. It's like, let's say, you're into golf, you go and you're in sales and you meet one of the clients and say, how's your weekend? And they're like, oh, it was great. I played the whole golf. And you say, oh, did you do a 9 hole or an 18 hole? And they say, oh, I did a 18 hole. And then you're like, yeah, I played golf too. Okay, so that's great. You're building some rapport. You both are into golfing, right? But at some point, you got to remember, well, I'm here not just to talk about golf, but I need to understand the environment. So
Hmm.
I have a clear intention. Okay, well, at some point, somehow I skillfully need to shift the conversation. Okay, so what are you guys doing with this then? What are the requirements? What are the problems you're trying to solve? So I'm present with that client. They feel me. That's how I build connection with them, and I build rapport with them, and I understand them. So I'm managing my attention, and I have a clarity of intention. And so many people these days, we can't manage our attention. We are in an ADHD culture because there's
Hmm.
so much coming at us. So one of the best practices is to build the muscle of our presence is meditation, where we pick something, whether it's following our breath or feeling our uh, our mantra or whatever, and invariably our monkey mind drifts off,
Hmm.
and then we come back. So we're managing our attention, and we have an intention, and we're building the muscle of disciplining our consciousness. And then that, when we have that, then we are present. And so right now I notice your presence. You're tracking me. You're paying attention. You're nodding. You don't seem like your mind is scattered on 17 other things, and that helps me feel like, oh, I'm being listened to, so I want
Hmm.
to keep sharing. If I started noticing that your eyes were drifting to the side and you looked at your phone, I'm going to be like, okay, well, he's busy, he's not really paying attention to me, so the quality of our connection is going to go way down.
Diminishes. Yeah.
And then if you're my manager at a company, or you're my leader, I mean, I'm not going to feel so valued. And the way we interact in problem solving, and the value we're going to both get from this time together is going to diminish. And I'm going to walk away feeling, oh,
Hmm.
Joey doesn't really think my role is that important. He's got a lot of other things he's worried about. So why should I bust my butt, working hard? I mean, he doesn't seem to care. He's not
Hmm.
invested in me. He's got a lot on his mind. Well, I got a lot on my mind.
Yossi, your book that's right over your right shoulder there, Spirituality, Intelligence, Leadership. What do you want the reader to come away with?
What I want the leader to come away with, that they have some level of spiritual intelligence.
Hmm.
Everybody has some level of compassion. Everybody has some level of gratitude in their life, and I want them to realize that, yeah, I have some level of these capacities, and I wanna cultivate them, because that's gonna make me happier, more fulfilled, more effective. And I need to do these practices and develop these muscles like I would. If you wanna become healthy and develop your muscles, you can't work on all your muscles simultaneously, but you pick a muscle, you go to the gym. Today I'm gonna work my abs, tomorrow I'm gonna work my this or that. But as you build each muscle group, it supports the whole thing. So that's those are a couple of things I want them. And then the other thing is, like, what inspires you? What is
Hmm.
your deepest heart's longing? Where is your spark of life? What is your passion? What is your highest aspiration? And so that becomes your north star, and you want to kindle that spark. You want to kindle and fan that flame, because that's your life force. That's the life force that's trying to move through you. So you got to first kind of get in touch with that spark and that north star for you, of what gives you the deepest meaning, your deepest heart's desire, your highest aspiration. And that becomes kind of like what you're aiming at. Then you have a vision of yourself, like where you want to be in the future, both in terms of accomplishment, but in terms of the kind of person you want to be.
Hmm.
And then you work towards that by cultivating these qualities, like I mentioned.
Yossi, is there something that you firmly believed in 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, firmly believed in that you no longer believe now?
Oh my God. Um, Something I firmly believed in.
10 years ago,
I'm,
2015, 2016.
I'm trying to think. Uh, well, uh, maybe I firmly believe that. I mean, this is gonna sound woo woo, but
It's
it's
all
okay.
right.
Uh, I firmly believe that reincarnation and
Huh.
multiple lives is bullshit, or that has no reality, or is. And now I'm like, well, I don't know. There seems to be
Hmm.
like some suggested evidence and whatever that it's not so out of the question. So,
Wow, that's
you
a
know,
big shift. Yeah.
well,
And as we get older, we think more about the end and we probably reframe things a bit. I know I have as well.
uh huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a
It's
question you wished more people would ask you, Yossi?
would ask me.
Yeah.
Hmm. This will sound silly, but that's what's coming up. It's like I wish they would ask me, how can we help you awaken more spiritual intelligence in the world? I wish they would ask that.
Hmm. It's
But they
become your
never.
passion.
It is my passion, yeah. But but they'd have to be interested in it, so that
Most certainly. So I started my tech business. It was just supporting small businesses and writing software there in New Haven back in the 90s. And I was working way too hard, you'll see, and not paying attention to myself and, developing poor eating habits, putting my health in the back seat. And the next thing I know, I'm in front of the doctor. She tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I had
you
gained,
were at 340. I don't
yeah,
believe it.
yeah, 340, 46-inch waist. Yeah. I'm now
Wow.
32-inch and, 200 pounds. So she says to me, though, I knew I was getting big, but I didn't think I was that big. And she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So my daughter was just born,
Hmm.
scared the life out of me. Right.
Hmm.
So it didn't motivate me. It angered me. Right. So I'm driving home thinking to myself, I can abuse myself all I want, and put my business first. But now my decisions are much bigger, right? It's my family now that's getting affected. And the thought of not being with her was flooring to me, right? It just so I spent the next 6, 7 months. I lost about 130 pounds and I kept it off. So you can't look at this kind of thing as a finishing line. Many people look at it, I'm done now. I can go back to old habits. These are lifelong changes. So when I tell people this story, the first question they ask, what's your secret? What'd you do? And there's no secret, Yossi. Discipline. That's how motivation, focus, routine. Discipline is my quick one word answer. How does discipline play a role in your life?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, that's how. I think that's one of the things that I earlier on alluded to, which made me effective in the military, is my discipline.
Hmm.
But these days, I'm disciplined in that I get up, early, every day, 5:30, 5:45, and that
Wow.
means I spend time meditating, doing my breathing exercises, doing my stretches, my yoga. I go for a walk on the beach, watching the sunrise, watching the birds. It just nourishes me. And some days I'm like, I wish I could just put my feet up and drink my coffee or my tea. But no, I'm gonna do my push-ups today. I'm gonna do my sit-ups. I'm gonna do my planks. I'm gonna do my meditation. I'm gonna do these practices that keep me energized, healthy, and vital. And yeah, not every day I feel like it,
Hmm.
but I push myself, Um, but the ability to do that is not just because I muscle my way through it through
Right.
the sheer power, but I try to connect to the reason. It's like, okay, well, what's behind that? Why are you doing that? It's because I love life. I love being healthy. So,
Hmm.
I think you're saying, okay, it was discipline, but I'm going to challenge you a little bit. I'm going to say your discipline came out of your love for your daughter and your
That's right.
family. So underneath the discipline for this motivation to do the hard thing of losing that weight was your love for your family. So the real motivation was love, and love then gave you the strength, the power, the discipline.
Hmm. I have an ongoing thesis that discipline is a spectrum, and I've made 10 elements of it. I actually published a book, focus, routine, restraint, mastery, control, etc. So it's interesting your perception, how it was first love that came into discipline. It's wonderful. There's no wrong answer, but it's a
No, I
wonderful.
mean all the 10 things you're talking about are real and
Right.
important. I'm not saying they're not there, but I'm
Yeah.
saying if you dig in
The
under that,
root.
the
Yeah.
root that sparked the whole
Yes, to get
thing
there was love. Yeah.
was love. Because without
Absolutely.
the love of your daughter, your family,
That's right.
you would they would be like, well, why go through the effort? Why sweat it?
Mm. As a child, was discipline discussed in your family, in your household, or was it exemplified?
I think it was discussed, but I was very unruly child. I didn't have
Really
a lot of discipline. I hardly ever did my homework through high school. I got by. I didn't have any discipline.
interesting,
But at the right moment, somehow
fascinating.
I marshaled the powers to be disciplined in the military and whatever because I cared about something. I don't know. I
Mm,
was motivated. Something woke up in me and said, I want to someday start a company, and I want to do this thing in the world. I want to try and build a better world. And then out of that motivation, then I had a reason. I mean, for me, discipline for discipline's sake wasn't like, well, yeah, I could be disciplined. I could my homework, etc. But why? It's boring, and who
mm,
cares if I get good grades or not? But at some point, I was like, I cared because I wanted to go to MIT and I wanted to start a business. I want to go to Harvard. But underneath all of that, there was a dream, and my dream was to start my own company. And it was the love of that dream that energized everything. So, I mean, I value discipline, but the discipline is because uh, there's something else underneath it that I value,
mm.
whether it's my health or my daughter or my son or my spouse or you know
You're
something.
describing the carrot or the stick, is what you're describing.
Yeah, I guess, but sometimes it's good to have both.
But yeah, sure is. Is there something over the last month or so, Yossi, that you changed your mind on?
Something in the last month. Yeah, that I need to work less hard.
Really, you really had to dial it back. Why? Did you have a scare or something? What?
Yeah,
Your wife
no,
told
I
you?
just like no, I just like, hey, I'm burning myself out. I'm working too
Uh,
hard,
uh,
and so I've taken on too much, and I'm feeling stressed, and that's not good for me. And I want to run this. I want to do this as a marathon.
right.
But okay, let's go back to what I said. It's because I love my life and I love my work, and I love the possibility of continuing to contribute over the long haul. So I was like, okay, if you're gonna do the marathon, you better pace yourself. But that's
Mm,
because I love what I'm doing and I love to have a long term impact through it. So that meant I have to pace myself. So, which actually requires me to be disciplined to
good
say
point.
no,
Yes.
to opportunities.
Yes.
Because as I'm making this notion of spiritual intelligence and spiritually intelligent leadership more known, I'm getting more people coming at me with interesting opportunities. And of course, I'm like, oh, that's great. That will enhance my purpose. That will enhance what I'm trying to accomplish. But, as I get more and more visibility, then there's more coming at me. And if I keep saying yes, I'm not I'm not um, doing as effective job managing myself. And then it's when I need discipline to say no. So there's discipline, but that discipline is coming out of love. If I'm gonna
Mm,
just
mm.
use my own framework on myself.
Yes. Yes. When you When you were a CEO, when you're working with CEOs, what do you recommend and what do you do to kind of quiet the noise? Because there's going to be those, as the kids say, the kind of the haters, right? You got the board, there's people upset with you there, or just social media where it is. And how do you kind of quiet the noise of the people saying negative things and trying to bring you down?
Well, you got to connect to yourself, your body, feel your feet on the ground, feel what you're feeling, the emotions that you're feeling, and what's the messages they're telling you. And really, that goes back to your deepest heart's longing and what is your highest aspiration. So you always kind of got come back to that, and then it clarifies things because that's your north star. And okay, you want to get a lot of likes on social media, and what would that give you? Well, I'll be popular, and what would that
Mm.
give you? Oh, there'll be more women that want to date me.
Huh.
Oh, okay, so you really want to find a partner. So, okay, so what's it like if you just connect with your desire to find your partner? Oh, okay. So, what would be the most skillful action if what you really are after is finding a life partner? Is it really chasing likes on social media or is it something else?
A question we really need to ask. I heard a metaphor recently, Yosi, where the crow is the only bird that will attack the eagle. So the eagle will be flying and the crow will land on its back and start pecking at its head. Now the eagle does not bat it away, does not try to remove it. It simply starts to rise and ascend because it knows when it gets to a certain altitude, the crow can't handle it, but it can. So when it gets to a certain point, the crow just withers and just falls off.
Huh,
So
interesting. That's
while
a
the
beautiful
world,
metaphor.
yeah, it really is. Just keep rising.
Keep rising. I like that.
What motivates you these days?
What motivates me? Uh, Love motivates me.
Yeah, I could see that. How so? Self from others to others,
Yes.
all the above.
Well, you got to love yourself. It's very nourishing to love my life, to love my purpose, to love this world, this beautiful world that we got as a gift.
Hmm.
I mean, life's a gift,
Yeah,
and I
sure
love
is.
it, and that keeps me inspired and motivated to contribute and to do my part to contribute to this life and this human family we're all part of. So
Hmm.
but that's because I love life, and yeah, I love my life. I love human life. I love our human potential, and would love to see it us prosper in a world that's more connected, with
Hmm.
people feeling inspired, empowered, and more peace and more love. I mean,
Hmm.
geez, look at what's happening in our world.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
hard.
it's
Yeah,
don't we at some level, whether it's our side or the other side, don't they at the core want love and peace?
right. I know I do. So I hear you say love, you want to contribute, impact, I hear. So given those motivators, that motivation, you'll see, how do you measure success?
How do I measure success? Well, I feel success right now because I feel I'm resonating with you, and
You
you're
are.
like,
You are.
so I feel like I'm making an impact on someone that is an opinion leader themselves. So I don't know where it's going to go, and it's what impact it will have through your podcast, through your listeners. Maybe one person out of this conversation, something for them shifts. Will I know it? No. I
Hmm.
mean, maybe I will. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll write in your show notes, Joey, that was a great interview. Or
Yeah.
maybe they'll write, oh, that was the weirdest, woo woo kind of guy that ever came. Why are you wasting our time with this kind of stuff? I don't know, uh, but it says, there's a saying in the Upanishads, this Hindu text, you have a right to your actions, not to their fruits. So,
Huh.
I do my thing. I think I'm trying to do well. Right now, I feel like I'm having some kind of positive impact and resonance with you. How that's going to ripple out through the world, I don't know, but I trust. I trust that it's going to bear some positive fruit. How do I measure it? Like I told you right now.
Yeah.
Right now I'm having
You're
fun.
inspired. Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. Inspiring me, yeah. Right to your actions, not their fruit. Very interesting. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful antidote.
Yeah, I mean, we said do the best you can.
Right.
I'm doing the best I can. That's what's in my control.
Absolutely. I this is purely anecdotal. You'll see if you'll indulge me. When I talk to friends and colleagues and even some work owners, I find they get stuck in one of these three ways, or many of these, but it's these three. First is trying to control things they can't control. I hear it repeatedly.
Uh-huh.
It's it. Secondly, is the whole I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when I get the raise, or
Uh-huh.
if somebody treats me a certain way, again, trying to rely on your happiness with something that's not in your control. And third is the whole, this has happened to me in the past, therefore this is the way I am now, or conversely, this is going to happen in the future. So I'm spending all my energy worrying on it. Those three ways. What are your thoughts?
No, I think it's beautiful that you can synthesize it. Yeah, make my happiness dependent on external factors, which I can't control, which is why I need to control things which I can't control. Isn't that a recipe for craziness?
Yes.
I gotta control.
Insanity.
Yeah, I can't even control my own mind. That's the
Right.
beauty of meditation is like,
Mm.
oh, let's see if you can control the thoughts that pop in your mind. No, I can't control the thoughts that pop in my own head, but I want to control other people and I need them to be different in order to be happy.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's futile. That's a recipe for frustration.
Sure is.
Uh, so you said, control, external, and what was your third thing? I'm sorry.
Living in the past or living in the
Oh,
future.
living in the past, living in the future. Yeah. Yeah. So the only thing that exists is the present. And I mean, that doesn't mean you don't learn from your past.
Certainly. Yes.
You reflect on your past, you
Yes.
take the lessons from it, you you reflect on the future, or you vision the future you want, and you know where you're going, so you aim at it and you visualize it. And that's how the best sports athletes, the golfer, you golf, right? You visualize the ball landing in the green,
I certainly
landing
do.
as you take the swing, right? So as you're standing there and you're about to take your shot, you're visualizing the arc of the ball, right? So you're visualizing the future you want to create,
Mm.
and that sets the neural pathways in your brain to take the best swing, and then it sets the pathways in reality. So reality has been conditioned, like this is the way the ball's going. Your brain is like, this is the way it's going to go, and then it goes. So and a tennis player will visualize their serve landing in the corner. And
Mm.
an entrepreneur is going to visualize the market 5 years from now. And they have a vision of the product and how the market's going to look, and what the ecosystem and how many million users are going to use their newest gizmo or app or whatever it is. So again, we're visualizing a future which calls us and it pulls us, and then we make it a reality.
Hmm.
So we're not ignoring the future. I know people say, "Oh, you don't plan." You do plan. You
Hmm.
visualize. You envision the future, and then that future calls you and draws you, and then you've already conditioned yourself to believe that that future is possible. It's real in some sense, and then you bring it into fruition in the physical world.
Hmm. Real important practice. What's the old football coach? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, or I think something
Okay,
like that.
that's great.
Yeah. I thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited when we set this up. I learned so much from you. I love your story. I love what you're doing now. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Well, they can go to my website, yosiamram.com. No, I'm sorry, that's my therapy website. But the parent website is yosiamram.net. And if you can't remember how to spell my name, just go to spirituallyintelligentleadership.com. And that will take you to my website, and you can contact me from there. So,
And we'll make sure to
and
put in the show notes. Yosi, Yosi.
yeah, Amram,
Amram.
Amram. Yeah.
That's right. Just as it
Not the
sounds. Yeah.
easiest, not the easiest name to remember, but just remember spiritually intelligent leadership or
Ah,
si-leadership.com, and you'll find me. Um, so
excellent.
yeah, excellent.
Next
And you
time I'm in
did,
Northern California, maybe we'll get together. I'd love to have a cup of tea.
please, tea or coffee or anything else.
Very good. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Likewise, it's been a joy and a delight.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.